I think that'll work.
As long as you're comfortable, man.
I feel like I'm comfortable.
Good. Well, I mean, you're in your own home, so
right, exactly.
You're in your home minus all this stuff that I have
exactly
thrown around your back patio here, and that's why I like to come to my guests, guys. Today, my guest is Jeff Schrock. I know him through my workout group, F3, based here in Phoenix, but it is an international group, not just nationwide, but we are international now. And you are on this one time. Sorry. That's my intro.
Awesome.
I appreciate you setting some time aside.
Right.
You are a teacher. Right. And so you're on spring break right now.
You
just got back from Cancun. I saw some photos. Well, you were trashed.
You're right. No pictures. There's no proof.
Oh yes.
So that's how we work it.
The good old days.
Yes.
But yeah, I was just saying that I do like to go to my guests. So usually I say, hey, is there somewhere you can film, like a location you have, just so you're more comfortable, man,
Right.
It's something for people to kind of get, not just behind mics, but also behind the camera.
Right.
And that's going to be going out to the world. So if I can get you a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more at ease, I think everything flows a little bit better. But I think, you're a type of person that would just kind of find a way and thrive and get your message across, which is why I have asked you on, man, because I think you are a thinker, a philosopher of some sorts, and I've always enjoyed interacting with you.
And me, you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. So Jeff, like, what do you do now, and what was kind of like your life leading up to where you are now, and maybe the mission that you have? I know that's kind of a big question right out the gate, but
right now I teach high school. I teach at Thunderbird High School. Mm-hmm. I teach sophomore biology. And then I teach sophomore, junior, and senior sports medicine. Mm-hmm. So, but leading up to it, I never wanted to be in the classroom. I was not planning on being in the classroom. Yeah. My background is sports medicine, is athletic training, and basically athletic trainer, the guy that runs out on the field when someone gets hurt. That was my route, and that was I had an opportunity in college to take some different classes and like sports analysis classes, like kind of throwaway classes like racquetball and those kind of things. And with the whole idea that if I do that, I graduate with a teaching credential. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm not going to be in the classroom.
Gotcha.
And here I am,
Were you aiming to be the athletic trainer for the D-backs?
At one point I was, but then I actually, once I graduated, I actually got a little stint with the Arizona Rattlers.
Oh yeah.
And in '97, when they won the whole thing, I was kind of like the intern, and I got my little cameo on ESPN, and helping out some of those guys over there. But just seeing what it means to be an athletic trainer in the professional realm, like when I could do that, but then I wouldn't really have a family. I wouldn't really have, a happy wife.
The demand of the job.
Yeah. And you're doing a lot more than just the athletic training. You're doing a lot of other things. Yeah. And those other duties become like, picking up laundry, picking up guys from the airport, doing all kinds of things. You're in the midst of it.
Yes.
But I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, so. It's like when I volunteered for the Mesa Fire Department fresh out of high school up here. It's a program, I think it's still around, called Connectors.
Okay.
And it was basically to do all the bitch work, quote unquote, of the fire department, where they're 100%. Like, hey, why are we going to take this ladder truck out or this engine for something that we can set up? And these guys are, you're getting your beak wet. Yeah.
Right.
By getting into the department by doing this. But yeah, it was just a bunch of errands and whatnot.
Yeah.
But also it's like, you don't realize you're the athletic trainer for the team. You're on the team. So wherever they are, you are.
Yeah. And that's honestly, so I got into the high school in '97. Ironically, my first job was at Thunderbird High School, where I'm at now, but I was only there for 2 years, but I was working, as the athletic trainer. And then I went to, California, did that, and I came back here. So, the hours are, I started to teach. I'm like, oh, this is great, teaching sports medicine, doing athletic training.
Mm-hmm.
But you're there from like 7:30 in the morning, and then you're there until, whenever. And a lot of times kids will come in, hey, you going to be here for the game? Like, what game? There's no game. Oh, no, there's a game. And I look on the, oh, yeah, they scheduled it.
Oh.
And so, I have plans that night. The athletic trainers are usually the last person they check with, and so I was like, this isn't working right, and so my athletic director at the school I was at, it's weird. He's the best athletic director I've ever worked for, but he was the hardest to work for because he really was, he didn't manage people well,
gotcha.
But he got his job done. And so by making comments like you're just a district employer and stuff like that, he just put people where they were and didn't care about anything else. Yeah. But he got the job done.
Gotcha.
And we butted heads, and I finally said, I'm out. And it's funny because we have this respect. I saw him because you could say like I burnt bridges there a little bit, but then we saw each other about 3 years later, and we have the utmost respect for each other.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you did your job, you did it well. But you didn't handle the people part of it really well, and I'm really glad because that pushed me out of athletic training. I know it sounds weird, but now I'm in the classroom, and now I work as an athletic trainer to cover for other people, and I love doing that because I know what it's like to be, and someone say, "Oh, I'm sick," or "Hey, I have a wedding," or it's my own wedding, or I'm going to be on maternity leave. Who am I going to? And for me to jump into those situations gives me it's the coolest thing for me to do.
Yeah.
But then I can also hand the keys back and say, not my monkey, right? Not my circus. So you can take them back.
Yep.
I was there for that little bit. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's like someone without kids watching their nieces and nephews.
100%.
They're like, hey, this is awesome, cool, and then here you go.
You can spoil the crap out of them, and then just no, sorry, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So I had taken over a while back. There was an uncomfortable situation with one of the athletic trainers, and I jumped into that role. And the high school was the furthest in our district, the furthest away from. It's like it was crazy far.
Yeah.
But I would get done with school, and I drove out to that school, and I was their athletic trainer from the first day of school all the way to like almost into the it was football season's over. And I'm like, hey guys, are we getting anybody to replace me? And they're like, no. Well, we're working on it.
You're doing great.
Yeah. And they wanted me to remain. Hey, what if we just hire you? I'm like, no, but you did such a good job. Yeah, but I'm done. Like I did that season. It was fun. It was fun to get my feet wet again. But I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. And so it ended up being, I put something out on Facebook on it because we have a athletic trainer page. I put one on there. And,
of course, yeah.
And within a week, we got somebody hired.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you were working towards it, but I got it out and we got it done, and so it's things like that. I'm able to tell them no.
Yeah, that's good. So you're able to pick it up on your schedule, on your time, on your terms,
on my terms.
Yeah,
on my terms.
That's so good.
Yeah,
because navigating the whole family aspect thing is the hardest part,
right? And there's not a lot of professional athletic trainers that are happily married. It's just not conducive.
Yeah, well, you're essentially, I mean, at that point, you're almost like the team doctor as well. So if there's anything that comes up, you're being reached out to.
Yeah.
Hey, can you drop everything and come take a look at, this high value prospect that we have, or whatever it is. Right. Man, I didn't think of that, but yeah, you're. I mean, it made sense, and I see it,
right?
But like, I wasn't, like, I guess, processing it,
right?
That you are part of the team,
right?
At that point.
Well, and the thing is too, like, especially when you take over for a high school, the one thing that I love doing is like, wow, the other athletic trainer before you never did that. Wow, you're so much better than the other athletic trainer, which is good. It feels good for that first year because you're going above and beyond what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But then that next year, that above and beyond is now the criteria. Baseline. And now if you don't go above and beyond yourself the following year, and you get to this thing because, we're athletic trainers, we like to help people. And this is a problem that we burn ourselves out because we want to do everything for the teams. And then I got into another school, and I was getting called in, well, you're not getting water out for 7th period PE. Well, is that my job? No, it's not your job, but people are thinking you're punching your ticket. Okay, but is that my job? Like, I didn't know that was my job. It's not your job. Then then what's the problem, right? But because I wasn't going above and beyond, right, I'm just punching my ticket.
Yeah.
So you get it's that mentality, that you can put yourself up higher to where now you're not getting paid more necessarily, but that's a new standard. See, and it sucks because I'm not gonna do that for you because that's not who I am.
I relate to that, man, because I've been at my job for freaking 15 years.
Yeah.
Much longer than any of the managers that I report to.
Right.
And when a call or situation comes in that I can handle, but I'm a commissionable salesperson.
Right.
That's not my job. Even though I could expedite it and get the customer handled, I was like, I don't get compensated for that.
Right.
And with the change of the commission structure this last year, I was like, I'm technically making less or having to work that much harder to make my same paycheck from the last couple years.
Right.
So I'm just like, hey, dude, I'm going to clock in.
Right.
I'm going to clock out.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah. And you end up, as the years go on, because I don't consider myself old, but in this business, I kind of am. And so I become this crotchety old guy.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hire because they know he's not going to, they don't want to hire a newbie or an old guy to take over a program because I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to do all those things because I know I don't have the bandwidth to do it all. Yeah. I'd love to, but I don't have it.
But you could almost be called into okay, how can we reform our program and expedite it?
Yes.
So you can create a system, put your system in place that works for you after all your tenure, and that someone else can come in and you can just show it to, and they can just take the reins.
Right.
Right. That there is such a value in the position like that.
Right. And they're some of my friends that have been in the business for longer than I have, and really good friends with them. I cover for them a lot. There's talk about them, retiring, and I get the AD, hey, don't even consider me. Yeah, I'm not filling those shoes, and I'm not doing that.
It calls to you.
Yeah.
One of my good friends from back home is my old social studies teacher. I think he taught English as well, but he would run all the big programs.
Yeah.
From a small school. We're 2A. But he was one half of the whole leadership team for student council in Arizona. And he would do key club, ski club, tennis, a multitude of other things. He would handle any of the game events that were going on. It was his hand was involved. And every year he would just say, this is my last year. And this is, I graduated almost 20 years ago now. And he's just like, I don't know how much more I have in me. But it's almost like when you've delved into your career at that point, it's not just a job, it's a career and a passion like that. It's hard because you identify with that role so much.
Right.
That it's hard to really step away and trust somebody else with it as well.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's right now I'm in I went completely to teaching, and I went back to Thunderbird. It was funny the first year because I'm not doing any athletic training. And I had coaches because they still don't know what my position is. They're like, hey, will you coach? Hey, I'm like, I take care of injuries. You don't want me as a coach for football. I don't know. I know 3-4, and I know only because I played Madden, so I know a little bit of. Outside of that, I'm like, you don't want me as a coach. And then that was ironically, I went almost a whole year without doing any kind of athletic training coverage. And then someone asked me, on the spur of the moment in the spring, I'm going, sure, I'll do it. And it was the one time I literally covered, and I realized on the calendar my daughter's recital.
Oof.
And the whole reason I'm out is to go to my daughter's recital, and I missed it. And she was okay with it, but I was going, really, how I spent the whole time and it just happened that, and I'd already said yes to it, so I covered for him. But.
Yeah, so you beat yourself up a little bit for that mistake.
Right.
That made you be a little bit more vigilant on next time you got asked. You're like, hey, I'm going to comb this over, comb my calendar over a handful of times. Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, I always say I got to talk to the boss. And so I messaged my wife. I'm going, hey. She's like, yeah, we're good. Okay, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
So.
Am I missing anything here? That's good. Yeah.
And then again, I can also say, nope, I'm busy. I don't need to say why I'm busy. I'm done. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, there's no justification. That's a lot of things these days that we try to over explain why, you know, because it's like you don't want to let somebody down. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's a yes or a no, respect it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not, well, what you got going on? What's more important than this? Like,
right. Yeah. Exactly.
My peace.
Right. Right. Jeez. Exactly.
So right now you're teaching biology?
I teach biology. My heart is in that sports medicine.
Yeah.
And we're working on developing that program in such a way that we get the numbers and I can get more sections of sports medicine to kind of phase out bio, but I'm not really, I mean, I enjoy it, but I really enjoy sports medicine because that's my wheelhouse, you know? I talk to other, you know, my colleagues and they, you know, they talking to them, they kind of they've had a career path this whole time of being science teachers. I didn't have that, you know, growing up. I mean, I know this stuff, I know the material, but sports medicine, that's my passion, you know? And so, and I can feel it, like my energy, you know, in the morning, because it's afternoon, I have sports medicine afternoon. My energy in the morning is one thing, but after lunch, my energy, because I just get into it. And a lot of times I don't even finish the lesson because we're just in this heavy discussion and doing all this kind of things. And I love it.
Yeah, which is awesome because you still need to, you know, teach these kids how to think critically and be able to have conversations like that and not just shove information down their throats and just be like, be quiet and take this in.
Right.
Like, no, you got to make it engaging too.
Right. Well, and it helps that it's a what they call a career technical education course. So these kids, you know, it's one of those things where they're looking, they take, it's an elective, so they've chosen to take the class. And so hopefully that, I keep telling the kids, you know, take it for the medicine, not for the sports part, because I still get the athletes like, oh my gosh, this is hard, a lot of anatomy. Well, yeah. But those kids that have that, you know, that wanted to be in the medical field, this can propel them to an actual career. So when you go to, it's a lot easy sell to say, hey, this is really advantageous to you. It makes sense to you. Yeah. It applies to what you want to do outside rather than, you know, getting them excited about, you know, the parts of a cell, you know, the whole thing of when am I going to use this again? You could use we're talking about CPR right now. You could use this at any moment. Yeah, seriously. You know, this stuff is life-saving stuff. So there's much more of a buy-in.
Have you ever had a life-saving moment on the field like that?
I never have. I've had situations where it could have turned into, I think there's a lot of situations that could have turned into there, but I've never had to give anybody CPR, knock on wood. I had to administer some EpiPens, for some allergic reactions. I've had to, reduce some bones, but not necessarily life-threatening.
What do you mean? What's reduce some bones mean?
Well, like reducing joints. So, like if a kid's on the the kid's on the field and their kneecap is off to the side and their leg is bent, it's actually really, really easy to just straighten the leg. I mean, the people think, oh my gosh, but really, like the joints want to go back. They want to go back. They want to go back. You just got to give it a path. Yeah. And so you could do all you want, but if you just put a little tension on, a little traction on it, oh, look what I did. You didn't really do anything, you know. I mean, granted, you have to know when to. Yeah, because
it's a whole feel process.
Yeah, because you don't want to reduce something that's clearly broken because you could break something on the way back, and you know, there's times where you're like, nah, I'm not touching that. Yeah, you know. But like a finger, you're like, oh, those are, you know. Some athletes are like, yeah, give it to me, you know. And now, you know, it used to be when I was in the practice starting up, you don't reduce elbow dislocations, and now it's like everyone's like, oh yeah, give it to me, and it's a 2-person job, but you can do those. Oh shit! And the idea, it's important to do that because if something's out of place, it's pinching off nerves, it's pinching off, you know, and so if you don't reduce it, it can, you know, you can have some lasting nerve damage and
atrophy and all that.
You're right, and blood supply and that. So it's important to know how to reduce, you know. So I've done some of those. I did have a neck injury that was pretty bad at Thunderbird High School years ago, and didn't really. I was at the time I was working at Thunderbird and Sunny Slope, so it was a crazy setup. All the athletic trainers in our district, there was one athletic trainer to 2 high schools, and so I would go from 2 to 4 at one school, and I was at Sunny Slope and Thunderbird, and then I'd do the evening shift at the other school, and then it would switch. And it usually would switch to where I'd look at my schedule, and if there was night games, that's where I was at. And it always, you know. so I was driving into Thunderbird, and I had an ambulance behind me, and I pulled around, and as I came in, there was an ambulance, and the guy that was one of the coaches that was there, the parent or something, he was actually a neurosurgeon. So he was on point. So he's taking care of the head, and I could tell right away this was a serious situation.
Yeah.
And in fact, the medic went in there, and right away he radioed for a helicopter.
Oh.
Yeah. So it ended up being a pretty big deal. Wasn't my fault because we were, but the system was very much, of having one athletic trainer at 2 high schools was brought into question, which it should have been. It's sad it took that. But that's that is the reason why now they have one athletic trainer for every school in our district because of that situation. So he ended up having paralysis from the nipple line down.
Damn.
I think he just had some complications since then. So it was really like that was big.
And that was from a football game?
It was wrestling.
Oh, wrestling.
It was wrestling in practice, and it was just a fluke thing.
Oh, damn.
Kid got into a full Nelson. They were just goofing around and popped him, and it just drove. It was just crazy. But to me, that was my first introduction to wrestling. So when I went to California, and I was working at a really big school, Clovis High School, and they're known nationally for wrestling. I didn't know that, and so I'm on the football field, and he had the wrestling coach come over to me. He's like, hey, and he was telling me about how big their wrestling program is, and they have this huge tournament in January, and they have like 30 teams. And
damn.
And I'm like, oh my, because at that point, I'm like, I don't ever want to see wrestling again. It was like kind of that whole, okay. But I mean, I've since, grown up in my career a lot,
Yeah.
But that was like,
you're like, I'm going to be dealing with broken necks all the time.
Right. Because that was my first year, so that's what I thought, wrestling was. But, so yeah, that was probably the biggest, my biggest like injury type thing that I had to deal with. I had a lot of heat stroke, or not heat exhaustion. And those you just got to make sure they don't become heat stroke.
Gotcha.
And so that, especially in Arizona, that could be a huge.
How do you combat that? Is it a saline drip or anything, or is it?
It's body temperature. Getting them out of the heat as quickly as possible, and we have they have like ice tubs on the practice fields, and we'll just throw somebody in there.
Okay.
And doing that before the medic come, if you have the ability to lower their temperature, that's going to be life saving. And yeah, make sure they're hydrated. But if they're next to passing out, you don't want to give them fluids in that sense. But it's just, and it's all about quick decisions, calling right away, getting them out of that situation as soon as you can.
Yeah.
So,
is there any of those supplement items on the supplement market that you would recommend for like hydration, like Element or Liquid IV?
Liquid IV, anything that kind of thing. And I mean, water's going to be. I feel like I sound like the water boy, but the water is the best thing.
Yeah, clean.
The other stuff is good. Electrolytes, Gatorade, Powerade.
Yeah.
We keep salt tablets in our kits. And
Yeah.
we'll throw salt tablets in there, and sometimes we'll have some other things that it depends on. Every athlete trainer has their own thing, and not really from a heat stroke or heat exhaustion thing, but also like for cramping. There are believers in pickle juice.
Yeah, pickle juice.
And they actually, which is crazy, they actually bottle. You can buy them in like a Medco supply, like a 6-pack of like pickle juice.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I'm not big on that whole lifestyle. There's no way that works, right? So I was working to go to state for it was tennis, and it was just like the two and. They're going probably a 2-hour match.
And then, so this is tennis in high school, which is probably what, April?
Yeah, and it's hot, and they're tired, and one of my kid goes down. So I run out there. His quad is balled up so much that I was thinking maybe I'm like, there's clearly he didn't rupture.
It's like off the bone.
It was like there was this big old it looked like the muscle may have ruptured, and I'm like going. Okay, so I start massaging the area, and I felt it kind of. I'm like, okay, that's like, and he still had function, and I'm like, okay, but there's no way I was like, we're ready to call it. So I'm doing all this stuff, and then I'm like, well, I mean, I have pickle juice, so I gave him some pickle juice. I gave him a shot of pickle juice, and I don't know if it was because of everything I also had done, because it's been like 10 minutes of working on him.
Yeah.
I gave him that shot of pickle juice, and within like, it was the weirdest thing. I wish I would, because if I hadn't been there, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
About like within 30 seconds, I see that ball, that muscle just,
What?
and he's like, oh, and I'm like going, what the? That didn't.
You're looking at the pickle juice thing. It's like bottled in Tibet.
I know. I'm like, what just happened? I just Miyagi'd this guy. I'm like, okay. And I went in and I made sure I always had pickle juice with me.
Yeah.
But again, there's all these things. But the biggest thing is salt tablets in the water can help, and water.
Yeah. People who don't think that, they're like, what do you
Yeah.
mean salt? It's gonna dry it out. It's
Yeah.
gonna make me even thirstier. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that's literally what electrolytes are.
Right. And athletic training is, we have these little our responsibilities. The biggest responsibility, number one, is prevention, right?
Yes.
So we obviously injuries happen, but part of that prevention is letting kids know the importance of drinking before you're thirsty.
Yeah.
Because if you only drink when you're thirsty, it's too late. So you really need to make sure you're in a habit of drinking, and make sure you're staying hydrated. And because we normally, where we have those issues are those that first time runners. It's usually track or cross country. First time runners, or just they're maybe a little bit, probably shouldn't be out there, a little bit out of shape.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
very beginning of the season.
Oh,
Usually.
yeah.
I mean, granted, beginning of the season is usually because it's usually hotter out. But yeah, that's it. I have never had anything go to heat stroke, but there are some times where it's like,
Very touch and go.
yeah, it is. So I had one. We were at a track meet at our school, and we had to escort this one guy off. Long story, but he was like, "You're killing her! You're killing her!"
Oh, shit.
Oh yeah, and then like he was also the team doctor for the school, for his high school.
Yeah.
And he ended up, my AD called me in, and he's like, "Hey, did you see this news clip?" Oh yeah, he got in trouble because he was never licensed as anything. Like he was a physical therapist or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was never licensed. So he got, in trouble, and the school got in trouble and all that stuff for
Being uncredentialed.
Yeah, and this is a guy that was saying, "You're killing her, you're killing her." Like, where? Can you get him away? Like, this is awful. Like,
Yeah, what book are you reading from, man?
I know.
Dr. Seuss's Sports Medicine.
Right, it's stressful enough. I don't need him, but yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense now. Why? Because I see you get very passionate for sports. On your Facebook.
Right.
And I didn't realize that you were a sports medicine guy. So now it all makes sense.
Right.
On your love and appreciation for athletics at its highest level.
Right. Well, my dad, who actually he passed away Thanksgiving, and today is actually his birthday.
So it's
kind of
happy birthday.
Right. So he would be 80 years old. But one of the things might get my passion from him. In 76, the Suns and the Celtics were in Game 7 or Game. I don't. Is it Game 7 or the World? I think it maybe was the World Series, right?
Yeah.
And so Gar Hurd gets the ball, and he hits the 3-point. Well, I don't think there was a 3-point, but he hits a shot.
You said World Series or
No, NBA.
The NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so he goes and he shoots the ball, and he makes it, sending him to 3 overtimes. Well, when he made it, my dad, he was standing in front of the TV. I was being bathed by my mom and my two sisters I was 1 year old, right? So she's bathing us, and my dad jumps up and punches in the air. Well, it's 1970s, 76, it's like big old chandelier, right?
Yeah.
So he punches the chandelier. The chandelier comes down, cuts his leg.
Oh.
So he comes running into the bathroom. He's got his foot up on the toilet, and blood's dripping down into the toilet. And my mom's bathing us, trying to bathe us, and she's like, she had to take care of him. So she calls a neighbor, and so my neighbor, who was watching the game, runs over because it's commercial break. So he runs over. And
Otherwise, your dad's SOL.
Right. So he slips on the gravel driveway.
What?
And he falls and he hits his arm on the flower bed, breaks his arm. So then they were taken to my neighbor's wife stayed with us. My mom drove the two of them to the hospital, and they got to listen to the rest of the game on the radio.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost. But the next day, it's headlines. And it's my dad and my neighbor on the patio with talking the whole story. But then sports, the ESPN, or not ESPN, but Sports Illustrated picks it up.
Yeah.
And it's actually in a Sports Illustrated issue.
Yeah.
And it says 2 crazy fans in Phoenix, and tells the whole story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So anytime there is a close game, oh my gosh, I get so many texts. Hey Jeff, make sure you stay in. You're not under the chandelier, are you? I'm like, oh, that was my dad. That wasn't me. And my dad would get flooded with so much stuff.
Yeah.
With make sure you keep Neil quiet. Keep Neil. And,
yeah.
He had a passion, and I took it up. So we were all about sports.
Man, what was besides that? What's another fond memory of you and your dad sharing a sports moment?
Oh gosh, we went to Talladega, and my dad worked at Sanderson Ford for 50 some years, and so he gets in with these contests, and there's one it's a contest, it's a radio contest, you're supposed to win it, but they got handed tickets. You want it? Oh sure. So he takes me, we go to Talladega, and we're like with a group of that they definitely are NASCAR fans. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Gotcha.
And so they're asking my dad, so how did you win? How'd you win? And my dad's like, yeah, I was on the phone a long time. You didn't want to tell him that but so when we go to we go to the PIR, the Phoenix International.
Yeah.
And my dad, we'd get the pit passes, and my dad knows people. And so he'd be going down and so he would know people, and he would be able to go down there, and no big deal. Well, at Talladega, it's just the winning. We're just a bunch of winners, right? We won a contest, so the pit pass wasn't really a pit pass, and I felt like this, snooty guy. Like, I can't believe we're not getting this. I mean, we got a free ticket to a free flight. We got hotel, and we're just going. I mean, the concession place that we got free concessions, they didn't even have coffee. It's dripping. It's not even open all day. And we had to be bused to the track. Like, what is this?
Man.
And we were just being so snooty, and we were like laughing at ourselves. Yeah. But we trying to get into see Carl Edwards, and my dad knows a guy who is all about it, and so he was like, yeah, come talk to us when you. And so. But we couldn't get down there. Our pit pass was not even, those credentials weren't there.
Gotcha.
So I was like, Dad, this sucks. He's like, yeah, I know. But I'm like going, he goes, what are you going to do? And my dad is kind of a jokester anyway. He's done a lot of crazy things. And so I'm like, I haven't really done any crazy things with my dad after that point. So I'm like, Dad, let's go. He's like, what do you mean? He's being distracted because there's an opening. He's like, what? I'm going, Dad, come on. We got to do it. Oh. So we take off past the security guard. We go all the way and we start talking, and we meet up with a party, and they take us through Carl Edwards. Couldn't see him, but we saw Greg Biffle, and we saw his hauler, and we got to talk to people, and we're having a good old time. And security guard is like talking to him. He's like, you guys need to get going. He's like, we got it. So they ended up. We're like, okay, well now we need to go. Now we need to get back to the grandstands because the race is about ready to start.
Yeah.
So we're coming around, and we get lost. My dad and I are not good with directions. I mean, it's an oval. It's an oval. How do you get lost? So,
your way to first base, second base, third base, and home.
Right. So we're trying to come over, and then we find ourselves like literally in the pit, and so we're running around, and Dad's running. And he runs right into this guy. He's completely dressed in his gear, and we're looking at him going, oh my gosh. It was, and I can't. Oh shoot! The name of the race car driver right now is escaping, but we ran into him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like we're like, "Wow, that's cool." So we kept running. We're like, "Hey, bye," So the next week, PIR. Now we're in Phoenix, and we have the same. Dad got tickets again, but this time it's his tickets. It's through Sanderson, and so we were down there at the pit again. We're talking to everybody again, and again we find ourselves in the wrong park. And so we're like, okay, shoot, what are we going to do? We start running by, and we get lost again, and we run into the same driver. Like, just, and this guy, I don't no idea what this guy is thinking, but he's like, with the same two people run into him, he's like, what is going on? And I mean, it's just things like that you just can't make up, and that's my dad and I. We have fun, but we always get into trouble. So those are the things. I wish I would remember his name, but it might come to me. But it was. It
wasn't Juan Montoya, was it?
No, it was not. Yeah, right. Oh, but it was really memories like that. I mean, just at sporting events, him and I get. We always got into trouble.
Yeah.
So because we just not really. Let's just yeah. So but those are some fond memories. For sure.
He just passed recently, right?
He passed Thanksgiving night. Dang. So he had February last year. He was diagnosed with angiosarcoma, and it's basically a tumor that's on the skull, and it's really, really aggressive. It's a blood. It's in the blood, and you can literally see it was an outward tumor on his head, and he just up until, I mean, he was lucid and up until like 2 weeks before, but we just knew like there wasn't anything else they could do, and so when we moved him to hospice, we knew this is it, and so it's one of those things where during that time, a year and a half or a year before, I think it was a year before, my brother-in-law lost his dad on Thanksgiving at our house. He heard the call. He's like, "Hey, your dad passed away." And then in that time span, this past year, my father-in-law lost his dad 2 weeks before my dad did, and then his mom passed away 2 weeks after my dad. So it's been a lot of loss. It was this 2023 was rough, but I bring that up because everyone's like, "Oh, it's sad that he died on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's gonna be rough for you guys," but really for us, you have my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, and me. We've all lost significant family members on Thanksgiving or around there. Yes. And so Thanksgiving, the holidays become a time of remembrance and being thankful for what we had.
Yeah.
And so to me, I'm like, and that's when we're together anyway, because they're in California.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm like, it kind of is cool. And my wife will say that it's kind of fitting because my dad was kind of a turkey, So, but yeah, we all the family was around him, and it was a good thing.
It's good. See, it wasn't it's rough when it's coming and it's like it's there because obviously it's coming for everybody. But once you have like that tumor in place and this is it, then it just feels different, but it allows you these moments to anticipate, to make deeper memories. And then you had that moment where you see it decline. And so then you ramp up even more. So we're like, hey, if anybody wants to come visit this, you should do it now. And then all be there, at those last moments, which is nice. I had that with my grandma. When she passed at the beginning of 2020. My dad passed at the beginning of 2019, and that was very sudden. Yeah. That was like, I got a phone call. My mom's like, hey, he's in the hospital. Hey, they might need to amputate. Hey, you're going to want to get down here. And it was like all within like, a day. Right. But yeah, you're able to have those moments to set up for a beautiful exit of our realm here, man, because man, we would all be lucky to go out with loved ones surrounding us like that.
Absolutely. And what was nice is that before he went to hospice, I told the family, I said, he's good now, but when we go to hospice, we're not going to have the services, and he's not going to be as alert, and it's probably going to go quick. And even still, his alertness, let's use that. And so let's get the family members in and one by one and have a private conversation with them. And my dad and I, we are the same person, very much so, and we do so much things together. And so when it was just him and I'm like going, I was blessed with the fact that I told him this. I said, there's nothing that I need to tell you that you don't already know and you haven't already heard. and there's nothing you can need to tell me that I don't already know, and I haven't already heard. And what's interesting is I wrote the, you know, my reflections on my dad, from scratch, or a thought from scratch, for the funeral. And I said it, and I was like, I felt like I wrapped it up pretty good. It's hard to wrap up, you know, what he meant to me.
Yeah.
But then I found, when I was going through his stuff, I found a letter that I had written to him in it was 2021, because it was right before I got married, or maybe right after. But anyway, it was like right at the start. And that letter was almost, I read it to my sisters, and they're like, it was almost exactly what I had said, like verbatim. And so to me, it was like, yeah, everything I said at the funeral, you know, my dad has heard.
Has already known
everything I said, up to the little anecdotes. Everything was just the same exact thing, and it was really, you know, made me kind of, you know, obviously made me cry at the time, but it was good tears, because it's like, my dad knows.
He knows, yeah.
He knows exactly. I didn't tell him.
Well, for one, you know, as a man of, you know, faith, is that, well, he knows now everything, right?
Right.
You know, he knows now. But the fact that you have the you're at peace with yourself, because you're like, I voiced it to him. I wrote it down already. Right. Even though he would know, and he would know how I honestly felt, it feels good to be like, I conveyed my full and honest feelings about this person while they were still alive. Right.
It was like 15 years, and that's consistent. You know, it wasn't like you have somebody you're like, you know, he was a great man, but we never said it when he was alive, or everyone's like going, yeah, he's a great guy. You know, like we're not gonna like, you know, make a bad memory of somebody. So, but you didn't have to. This was consistent. You know, this is what he meant to me, and this is how he was, and it's that consistency that drove everything, you know, and keeps me consistent.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
you're definitely on that consistency path. How big of a role did F3 play in, you know, you dealing with your dad being diagnosed and you know, and his passing?
It's before F3. I started F3 2020 September. I can't say I was lost, but you know, you go, if you ask me at that point, who were the 5 people that you can call right now that can help you out? Okay, I could list 5. 4 weren't even in the state. You know, one was I worked with. Outside of that, you ask me now, I can't give you 5. I could give you 20, 30. So the fact that I have that, and I told the guys, because one of my buddies, Shakespeare, he lost his dad during COVID. Yeah. And he's more of a reserved man. And I told him, I told Shakespeare, I go, when my dad passes, I'm going to need everybody, because that's just who I am. Yeah. And they would, you know, they'll always say, well, we didn't really do anything. No, but you were there for me. You were there. You were present. You let me vent. You let me talk, and you still are there. Yeah. There's still grieving going on, and I'm one where I'm like, I don't need counseling, because I'm not sitting in the corner crying and depressed. Yeah. But it's changed me. It's changed who I am. It's changed what I've done. And my friends, my F3 friends, have seen that, and they've issued a challenge to me. And it's a friendly challenge, but it's basically, you need to get scheduled. You need to schedule a licensed therapist by the end of this month, March, or you're going to do Tetris, 100-yard Tetris. And Tetris, basically, you're in plank, and you're swinging your body still in Tetris to the back, to the front, to the back, to the front, traveling like that for 100 yards. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. So it's that whole friendly nudge. Yeah. You need to get some help. Yeah. Without saying, dude, you know, and I didn't have that before. So those are the things, just having them, sorry, but
oh, you're good.
Having them there and knowing that they're there.
Yeah.
And knowing that I can count on them.
Yes. You know. Yeah. You know, I have a lot of the parallels I'm dealing with at work right now is like, we're very understaffed, and it's not hard. What I do is not hard, but there's this feeling you have that when you open the doors and you have all these customers coming in, all these phone calls coming in, and I'm the only salesperson there. There's this little feeling of anxiety that I can't give all these people the level of service that they need because I'm the only one. And so the fact that, we have a group like F3 where it's like, yes, ultimately it's you, and you need to take responsibility for your actions and consequences, responsibilities, right? But you have a team behind you that you can rely on when you need it. And some of us will wait a little too long before we ask for it. But what's good about this group is a lot of them can pick up on it before you ask. They're like, "Hey, man, what can I do?"
Right. And shout out to, if Moonshot listens, shout out to him, because he's always the one like I try to avoid.
Yeah.
Because he'll pick up on just a little.
He's got the radar.
A little subtlety. You doing okay? I'm like, how did you, what? I'm fine. Are you okay? I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta get going. So he'll sit in my car and we'll talk, and I'm like, but I appreciate it. Yes. I appreciate it. So there's some guys that are very attentive to that.
Yeah.
So,
what's your position right now in F3? Were you holding one of the leadership roles?
Yeah. So I am the Nantan, the chief of the West Valley.
Gotcha.
So the West Valley, Rocket Town, the one at Cactus Park, was the first one. We've done Arrowhead. We've gone to Scorch. I just actually this morning went to Forge. It's a brand new one in Anthem.
Anthem, way up there.
Yeah, and then ironically, even though we have one in Buckeye, which is right. It's still considered. I mean, it is West Valley, but Moonshot was telling me he wants us to be renamed Far West, or the West, the Northwest. I'm like, okay, we could do that, but we still have
the Buckeye,
and they're not north at all. But so our region is huge.
Yeah,
the potential, because we want to fill in we have a lot of blanks to fill in between here and Buckeye.
Yeah, easily.
So, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's not, you haven't received F3 until you can give it away. Right. Because right now I'm like, oh my gosh, they need this. Guys need this. They don't realize they need this. And they think, oh, it's just fitness. It's not just fitness. I mean, because I'm still not fit. I mean, that's not where it is. It's the whole gamut, and that faith piece. It's a crazy. Oh, just another Christian thing. Yes and no. It's not. It's about a faith in something other than yourself. I mean, we have a lot of Christians that we work out with, but it's more in a faith in that brotherhood that we are not able to do this on our own. Just like they're saying, you need to get counseling, and it's not enough that you're talking to us. You need to get counseling and to receive that and not feel like you think I'm weak.
Yeah.
To understand that they're trying to build it up, and everyone, for some reason, I hate working out. So do I. Like, I hate it, and we're embracing the suck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then with life, you embrace the suck. You embrace the joys, but you embrace the suck. Yeah. And there's been a lot of suck. I can't tell you. We got a Christmas ornament that was made for us, and it's 2023. It sucks because everyone's like, "How are you doing?" It just sucks.
It just sucks.
It just sucks because we've had so much loss.
Yeah,
but we were getting through it because we're not alone.
Well, it's a chance to prove yourself too. How do you know what you're made of if you're not tested?
Absolutely.
I think once people realize that, comfort's the killer of anything, of ambition, of your determination. Once you get comfortable, so you can start with like a difficult workout routine, but once you get it down and it becomes comfortable, it's kind of lost its value as far as letting you grow. Now maintaining is great because that's a hard thing on its own. But the fact that you're not challenging yourself anymore, I think that's what a lot of people are missing. Right. And when you think back and pick like your favorite stories or anything from the past or something wild that happened, there is a heavy element of suck in it, but there's a chance for you to be like, for people like, well, how did you handle it? How did you overcome? And then it's like, well, sit down and listen to this. And those are the values. But in the moment, it sucks. And we are like, oh, I wish I was not really doing this.
Right.
But afterwards, it's just like, I accomplished something.
Right. And also too, it's that whole modify and adjust. We might, this one, the one person in the group may have just beat you by reps and by time and all that stuff. And in the moment, you're like, I got to modify. You feel kind of bad for modifying. But at the end, you guys both completed the challenge. Exactly. You both completed the workout. And you never go back to going, I didn't do it this way. No, you did it.
Yeah, you did it.
And that's why I think some people don't understand. When I first started, I was there Tuesday and then Wednesday, and then the following day was Iron Packs. Oof. Iron Packs Challenge is, obviously the workout of all workouts.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, and I'm like, I'm going to do it. I had no idea what Iron Packs was. I thought this was just a Thursday thing. And I was looking at the workout, and it was like, you're going to do 100 push-ups, Merkins, and then you're going to run 300 meters, and then you're going to do... I remember that one. And then it was like, then it was 90 squats, and then it was 80 Merkins. And I'm like, I can't... that night, I got onto the ground, and I was able to do like 15 push-ups on my own without dying.
Yeah.
And I literally got on Slack and go, hey, guys, not going to do it. I'm not because I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm still thinking I have to be there.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, just come out. You can modify however you want. So I went out there, and what I did is I did the 10, then go to my knees and do it. And then I just kept doing it until like the first group, because there was like 35 or I think of us 40 there in Royale doing this.
Yeah. Dang.
And so there was like the first group went. I'm like, I'm not going to go out with them. And I went with the second group. I have no idea how many push-ups I did, but I did the workout. And I completed that day, and nobody said, well, you didn't really do it.
Nobody was there counting.
No.
Everybody's in their own head.
Right.
They will pick out like, oh, he didn't go down all the way or this and that. But listen, man, showing up, everybody knows showing up is the hardest thing.
That's the hardest thing.
So we all know that. So people that say, I'm not at your level yet, I can't go, it doesn't matter. Level is just bringing in a new perspective, a new background, something to add to the group. Because if we're missing you, we're missing a link. We're missing something powerful in that person. So first and foremost, we just need men out there, right?
Right, absolutely.
And secondly, if you're doing anything out there, you're doing much more than you would have by staying at home.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we got done. I got done with that, and it was just like, wow, I did that. And in my head, I was inside my head. I was like, well, I didn't really do it, guys. I didn't really. And everyone's like, they didn't question. Did you really do? It was, you were there and you completed Iron Packs. You're
right next to me while I'm struggling, when you could again be at home, on your couch or whatever.
Right. And you embrace the suck. And really, I found too, like the only time that you really get called out is if you are like a horse and you're like right on top, you're like in first. You're like, dude, you didn't really do the exercise.
Yeah, exactly. If it's the guy at number one, then everybody starts to question. They're like, is he really that good? Is he that much better than me? Is he really going down all the way? Yeah. Then that's when you get critiqued.
Yeah. The guy in the back, you're like, dude, you're good, man. I don't want to have to call 911. You're good.
That is such a good thing, because like that's I guess that's how it is with like stars and athletes and all that, right? It's like once you're at the top, you get all this criticism, right? Well, because you're at the top.
Yeah, no one's going to criticize you. In fact, you get more respect when you come out and you're like the slowest one. Or I know that because usually I am the slowest one. You get more respect. Way to go. You must be injured. No, I'm not injured. I just can't run.
I see my buddy Bevel. We were playing softball, just like D-League. And he was on first, and the guy hit a double. He could have hit a triple, but Bevel's heavier set and not too fast. And I was coaching third base, and I was like watching the ball, and I was like, am I gonna wave him? And I stop him, and he goes, all right. I was like, yeah, I was gonna wave you on, but if you're going a little bit faster. He's all, that's as fast as I go, dude.
Right.
He's like, I'm good chilling on third.
Right. There's Chief was out there leading us one time, and all right, now we're gonna sprint, and he kept saying that, and I think it was Pointer. He was like, this is my sprint.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
All right, guys, now time to sprint. Oh no.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, what was I doing? Yeah. So I mean, everyone has their own way of going about it and their own reason for coming to F3. But it's funny, if you come out to get in shape, if you come out just for the workout, it really those people don't always stay, or they'll get like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden again, and the guys that I've Shakespeare, we were in a Bible study together,
Mm-hmm.
Shakespeare and Pointer and Repo, and I got in. I discovered F3, and so we'd go to the Bible study, and I was talking to them. My dad was in the Bible study, and they're like, oh, "What is this? Some cult you found?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." And so I was telling them, you got to do this, and Shakespeare flat out said, "It'd be a cold day in hell. That's just not me. I don't. When hell freezes over,
I'm not a fitness guy. I'm not,
right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't take a break now. Like he is there, like, because we also have a Sunday a trail walk, not a run, but a trail walk, like a ruck. And he's there all the time. Like if you look on the statistics, he's number one. Him and Glory, and it just cracks me up because
He was so adamant.
He was adamant. I'm not doing this, and so once they buy into what it is, it's just fun to just see them go.
Yeah.
Because it sells itself.
It does, because for one, it doesn't cost anything, so the net it can cast is much wider.
Right.
But it allows people from different statuses, socioeconomic, different backgrounds, to really intertwine themselves, in each other's backstory and what they're about. And it creates a big variety in that sense. And I think that's what, people can gravitate towards. Like, it really is, a bunch of different walks of life. Right.
Well, and another thing too is, like, in 2020, September, that was, right. We were remote. So there's COVID, then there's COVID, and there was also, there's a lot of political angst. And I didn't know anybody's political stance until like January. And that was because I was just three of us, and then there was two guys kind of got into it a little bit. But before that, I didn't know anybody's political stance, and it was so refreshing.
Yeah.
It was, we were working out. We were just, we're men. That was the one thing that we clung to, is that we were all men out there. And I mean, that was so refreshing, especially during the time where we're supposed to be 6 feet apart and this and that. And rightfully so, but it was just, we were able to do that, and everybody came out, and it's funny how nationally F3, especially in California, really grew during COVID.
Yeah.
And it exploded in the gold rush. They just exploded during that time.
It calls for a bunch of things that just people as a whole need in society. It's calling men to, be a better version of their previous selves. Right. Not than the next guy beside them. No, it's of yourself.
Of yourself. Man. Accelerate. Yeah.
And fitness. Everybody knows that, you're not doing, I wouldn't even want to say enough, but like, you're not doing what you should, you should be doing in that sense. And then also just cultivating the fellowship aspect of it. That takes work in itself. Like, especially as adults, man, you got to start scheduling when you hang out with your friends. Right. It's like, what? But that is the factors of having a career, a family, all of that. It's a juggling act. So all that takes work. So if you lean into the suck, you can reap the benefits of your hard work and determination in doing that with your friendships and connections and all that, man. Some of the people that helped me the most out of, my divorce and moving and all that were in F3. Right. And I have friends here that I've known for, over 20 years that I went to school with and all that. But, we diverge and we don't hang out as much. But I would see my F3 guys a lot more because I was working out, all the mornings. Right. So.
And there's no judging. There was no. They'd be almost offended if you didn't come to them. Yeah.
So like, how come I didn't know about this? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it's been fun, and right now I'm doing what they call we got it from the Nantan at Puget Sound. He brought it to us about 3 years ago, the hit for a cycle, and we for spring I figured so we did this 3 years ago, and I'm kind of revamping it now that we have 3 regions. Nice. And the idea is that we, in 2 weeks' time, you go and you hit 4 AOs in each AO area of operation, in each region. That's the West Valley, and then Central and the East Valley. That's hard to do, especially for like someone who's in the East Valley to come all the way to West Valley, because that's like Gilbert, Mesa, to drive. It's a 45, 50-minute commute.
And most workouts are at 5:30 a.m.
So I've rearranged it since I have spring break. So I started the cycle last week.
Oh.
And so I was out at Eastmark Saturday, and I was in Anthem this morning. Tomorrow I go to Mesa. It's still Central Valley, but it's the Rio. Oh shoot, I forgot what the Riata Path or Riata Park. It's a brand new park. It's in Scottsdale, but I'm going out there. It's called Rawhide. They're actually officially launching it. My wife does the shovel flag, so I'm bringing a shovel flag with me.
Nice.
So we're doing all these things, and it's fun because what I do is I do a short little video.
Yeah.
Helping, hey, tell me about your area, this area, what makes it cool, and then tell me about who you are, and then just so there's like a 2-minute blurb, and I've been putting it on Instagram.
Yeah, I've seen those. So that started from you trying to do the hit for a cycle.
Hit for the cycle, yeah.
Hit for the cycle.
Yeah.
So Rawhide, that's dropping. Is that down south of Ahwatukee?
I'm terrible direct. It's Riata Park.
Oh, and it's going to be called Rawhide?
It's called Rawhide.
Oh, because I'm equating it to Rawhide.
I was too. I don't think it might be the similar location because, but I was looking at everything I would Google would take me to the Scottsdale Prince,
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
So,
I'll look it up, man, because I would love to be there for an AO debut.
Yeah. So they've been doing the off the books, but they commissioned me to make a flag. My wife. We call my wife Betsy Ross because she makes these flags. She's amazing. It's basically a shovel, and so we have. If you notice, there's 2 shovels in the flower bed right now. Have been painted and.
Yeah, I thought that was just in case this podcast goes south.
Oh yeah.
You make me dig my own grave.
Right. Exactly. There's a black and a blue one, so but no, I'm gonna take that tomorrow, and so they're gonna have that launch. That's tomorrow, and at 5:30, and then I'm at the rest of the week. I'm at the Perch. I don't know if you're familiar with the Perch.
Oh wait, it's launching tomorrow.
No, Rawhide's launching tomorrow.
Damn, I'm queuing at Union.
Okay, and then the Perch I'm going to on Wednesday.
Red Mountain.
And then Thursday I'm at your neck of the woods for sure, the Doghouse.
Yeah.
And then Friday the Grind.
Nice.
And then Saturday I end at the Furnace.
Heck yeah, man.
So it's fun to.
It's a good spring break.
It is. It's fun to travel and to see new guys. I love our guys, but sometimes it gets a little stagnant seeing them all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the whole idea too is like, to connect with other
absolutely
hymns.
Yes. High impact man.
Yes, high impact man.
The Spartan I think is probably my favorite that I've ever gone to.
Yeah.
I just think that's like it's like a park for adults.
It really is.
It really is. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So and that's in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, well, anything in the East Valley would be. But I've been so bad.
Yeah,
about
because
you're.
Right. Things happen and stuff.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Ever since joining the band and late nights and just lots of traveling, and then now with the comedy, and then my second job and just all that, and then the time change. Honestly, the going to 5:30 has been a big issue for me for sure. But that's why I told myself I got to cue something because I've just been missing so much. So I was like, I'll do Tuesday. That's the closest one.
And it'll be frustrating too because you'll be out there. You'll do this and haven't been out for a whole year, and you'll still kick my ass as far as I'm like, dude, how seriously? I remember one of the first convergences I went to where you were there. We're running, and I'm like, who is that guy? What the? You jumped over this whole big old trash bin. I'm like, I'm not even trying to. I would like end up in the trash can. It'll roll into the lake, and I'll drown. Like you just like hop. I'm like going, holy smokes, dude.
Yeah. Well, I tell people too. I mean, that's the thing about nicknames is that you become them or they influence you a bit. And when your nickname is Rage, you
gotta hold it too.
Yeah. If I got to be one of the first few done, man, and it's like, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny when you go out in public and you're like, who is this? You're at, my wife asks, it's Rage. What's her first name? And you gotta like we know
proper name.
we know their name, we know their F3 name, and we don't know their first name, even though we hear it every time when we do the Name-orama.
Yeah, you do. But and the funny thing about the group is you never know what the nickname is going to be, right? And you don't know how valid they are. I remember Sandbag was still in town, and it was after a workout, and we were grabbing coffee, and there was a guy downrange. There was a guy in town, and he was looking for who wanted a ruck, right?
Oh, right.
And he's like, hey, who's that Pax that's downrange that was looking for people to ruck with? And I go, oh, yeah, Diaper Rash. And he goes, yeah, so Diaper Rash. So how long is he in town for? And he goes on for a minute. I was like, dude, I don't know his name, but it's definitely not Diaper Rash. But that speaks to the audacity of this group, that there is a guy that could plausibly be named Diaper Rash, and we wouldn't blink an eye. He didn't blink an eye. He was just like, yeah, Diaper Rash. We rolled right into it.
Right. I know some my buddies in Gold Rush, they actually made it a thing where you can't, because a lot of those guys went to church together. So they figured out you can't name a guy anything that you wouldn't call them out in church.
At church. Oh, gotcha.
So because they were getting a little bit crass in some of their naming, so they're like, okay, we can't say that at church. Got to come up with another name. But
yeah.
And then it's great. It's great when they own it. Like, you know, we named a guy Jockstrap, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, we had a guy in the East Valley that was trying to change his name. And I'm just like, no, dude, that's not a good look. That's not a good look, man. Those are nicknames. You don't get to choose your nickname and change it. You have to, and I mean, I guess that's coming from me, who has a cool name, but.
Well, the guy that on our side is Karate, right? His name's Wax Off, and that's what I heard, Wax Off, and I told that to my wife. She goes, "That's an awful name." I'm going, "No, it's not. Wax Off, Wax On." She's like, "Oh, that's not what I heard." I'm going, "Oh, that's horrible." And now it's like, "Oh yeah, that's a bad name." You know, didn't really understand the whole double entendre. I was like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah, I don't know what you would do to pronounce it differently.
There's no way.
No, there's
no way. It just, well, even like
other than giving it an Asian, dialect to it, but then you don't want to cross that line.
right. You just don't want to do it. Well, Mushu, everyone thinks pork. And when I was named, they were like, Mushu. I'm going, Mushu. And all the guys are like, what? Because I had two daughters and I had two bearded dragons. So Mushu, the dragon from Milan. I was like, Mushu, I don't even know if I've ever had Mushu pork.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I was thinking of. And they're like, and I told my daughters, like, you didn't know Mushu? I'm going, that's the one movie I don't really watch a whole lot. Yeah, and I know if you would have told me Eddie Murphy, the dragon, I'd been like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't know who that was. So there's all these interesting names.
Yeah. And you had to get accustomed to that. At that point, you're like, oh, I don't love it, but
we got to own it.
Yeah.
The best is when you like say, I'm Chicago Cubs fan. And so they get, okay, you're Bartman. Dang it. You get the bad,
Yeah.
I'm a huge Red Sox fan. All right, Jeter. No, that's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets careful what you share, guys.
Right. And do not share your most embarrassing moment, because Shart never came back. He was named an IP for the Iron Packs, and I never saw him again.
Oh man.
But so you just it's fun naming the names. I want to name some guy your mom. Because, but if it didn't stick, we wasted it, But who's queuing today? Your mom. Oh man, your mom really worked me this morning. It's like, dude, that's golden. It's golden. But you have to get the right guy.
You do have to get the right guy.
So, but yeah,
I'll get a comic out. I'll get one of these comics out here.
Yeah, right.
They'll be down for it.
Yeah. See, there you go. So.
Yeah, but then they're just real flaky. Comics are.
Yeah.
A unique breed.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Yeah, I get that. So,
dude, anything else you want to touch on? Considering you are the Nantan, and
I think right now, if we're trying our best to get out west. It's a little jingle there. Yeah, trying our best to get out west.
To get out west.
But just as far as it's. For me, it's F3 is a big part of my life. And it's not because I'm all into fitness. It's because I'm into like connecting with men. And if it's not F3, it's find somebody to connect with, and to understand that you are, it's easy as when you're in college to have your bros you hang out with. It's easy when you're in the military because you have your brotherhood. But outside of that, you cling to your family, which is good. It's important to cling to your family, but it's so hard for guys to make friends, and SNL has this one. Men, have you seen that little episode?
No, I need to watch it.
It's hilarious, but it's very poignant.
Yes.
With everything that guys just don't. We don't really. We're good on our own, right? And we're not. We're really not. And this is the best way to become friends with somebody without going to like a meet and greet and make it weird, or hanging out with your wives and hoping that they have their husbands are cool to hang out with.
That's always rough.
Right. This way you can go out in the gloom, so they don't really know. They can't see you. You can be as quiet as you want.
Yeah.
And you could try it for a while. Yes, the workout sucks, but it's only 45 minutes, and you can hang back all you want. You don't need to stay up with everybody, but you do it enough, and you start to have these relationships that begin to have more meaning to them, and that's when it clicks in, it plugs in, and you're like, dude, I'm in.
Yeah, and then it becomes fuel for the rest of your week, the rest of your day, and you bring that back to your family, your friends.
Right.
Work, man.
It's like, I get those people that are like, well, I work, I'm awake at like 4:30 every morning, 5:30, and then Saturdays I want to sleep in. I get that, but you're gonna probably get more out of waking up on Saturday at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, hanging out with a bunch of guys. You can go home and sleep, but you probably can get more out of that hour over time than sleeping in will ever do.
Yeah,
because you're connecting.
I always regret it when I sleep in.
Yeah.
I even though like I feel like I do need it, I'm like I'm really tired. I don't ever wake up feeling like that was the right choice.
Yeah.
I just never do, and I know I have issues that I stay too busy and I'm always running to something, but God damn it, that's what makes me feel alive.
Right. It's that connection. Stay connected. Like that's, and if it's F3, if it's something else, I personally would hopefully F3, but at the same time, find something that you're connected to.
Yeah.
That's they embrace the suck together.
Yeah.
So.
Hell yeah. That's beautiful, man. I appreciate you setting some time aside.
Absolutely.
And sharing.
Glad I could do this because normally probably would never happen with my teaching and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. Everything lined up, man.
Everything lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
It was like meant to happen. So.
I love it. Guys, if you want more information, it's f3phoenix.com.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That'll show you basically the mission of F3. It's free, open to any and all men, held outside, rain, shine, or snow. I mean, we're in Arizona.
Right.
So it's held in a rotating, peer-led rotating fashion.
Yep.
So you get a different flavor. And then it always ends in a circle of trust.
Yeah.
Right.
And that could be anything from a prayer, or a lot of times it's just like here's something like a thought for the day, and it it's cool, and then the whole idea is you respect the person who led it to be quiet and listen, and it's not a long time. It's not long. Sometimes they said, thanks for coming. Is their COT?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's different on what they want to touch on in that sense, and everybody's at a different journey in their spirituality and that faith portion. I mean that's the part that will. A lot of people are like,
It's kind of the glue.
It's the glue, but it's also the thing that people kind of shy away from.
Right.
Because that part. And, I'm always quick to tell people that, I say I'm an atheist in that sense, where I don't practice anything. I don't say that there isn't, a God, and I don't say that there is, I don't practice in that.
Right.
But I've been in this group for over 5 years and making connections with guys like yourselves and Glory, and like if that's a part that's put like keeping you out, like I say, like you don't even, because I'm sitting here, somebody that doesn't practice in that sense, and these guys accept me just as one of their own. And I got much love for you guys, man. All that. So I would implore you to visit the website and check videos. I've done other podcasts with Sandbag and Stark and Forrest. We talk about it in glory
Euchre,
on its own.
Right? Euchre?
Euchre, yeah. F3 is such a great group, man. Lots of minds to comb through and get perspectives on and all that, man. I can't say enough good things about the group. So do yourself a favor and come out and check it out at least once. But like I say, I'll try anything twice because the first time might have been a fluke.
Right. And for ladies, females in action, there's a national thing. It's a similar thing. But yeah, FIA, I think, I don't know how, FIA.com, or just females in action.
Females in action.
And you'll see.
I know the Gilbert ladies have an Instagram page. FIA Gilbert. So there's plenty for any and all. The men's group will also, you can bring your kids, your 2.0s that we call them, if they want to get in on it. And that's so great, man, to teach them early about the fitness, the determination, and the value of brotherhood.
Right. Absolutely.
And so just do it.
Yeah, seriously. What's stopping you, man?
Jeff, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love you, brother.
All right, man. Love you too.
Yeah.